What is up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm here in Hefei in Anhui province in China, and you probably have no idea anything about Hefei except that there's a NIO Factory here. This is where they make the cars, and also that there's a NIO house, right? That's why I'm here, I guess. NIO house, NIO Factory. But you probably don't know anything else about Hefei, and to be honest, I don't know a ton about Hefei either. But I do have some history here, and I want to share a couple stories. First of all, Hefei is like it's kind of like the middle of China, not really like the geographic center, but China is very heavily weighted on the coast, east coast. Lots of people, and you drive a couple hours inland, and it becomes kind of like the dark heart of China, I guess, so to speak. It's actually not too bad. Anyway, like I said, I have some history here, and so I want to see how it's changed, I guess, a little bit, and see if I can recollect a little bit, remember some things about this place. I have some good memories here, so I'll share with you. A long time ago, nearly 10 years ago, I was, new in China, and I had been to Shanghai because that's the first city I lived in. I had been to Chengdu because that's the first city I ever visited on my own, and I had been to Beijing, and that was the second city I've ever been to. So those are all, Shanghai Tier 1 international city, Beijing capital, Tier 1 city, international place. Chengdu, not Tier 1 city, but very nice international city, very liberal, very open-minded city. And so I'd been to these places and I thought, wow, China's pretty cool. China is all developed and advanced, and people are friendly, and it's a nice place. So that was my initial experience. And then I had a business trip to Hefei, to the city right here. I was doing immigration work. At that time, I was working in a company that was basically selling green cards to the United States and other places too, but mainly the United States. I'll talk more about that at some point. But we were selling green cards to rich people. Most of our business was like Shanghai, Suzhou, Nanjing kind of places. But we did have some business out here in the more poor and backwater type places. It was our first time going out here to Hefei together on a business trip with me and my boss. And we were coming out here to meet with some rich fellas, try to sell them some green cards. So anyway, we're on the high-speed rail coming to Hefei, and my boss is like, all right, first thing that you got to know is what happens in Hefei stays in Hefei. So I'm thinking like it's like Las Vegas, right? It's like Sin City. I didn't know anything about Hefei at all at the time. Second thing he said is Hefei is the wild, wild west of China. He said, you're gonna encounter some things you probably haven't seen before and you probably don't expect. My boss was a cool guy. He studied in the States. He's a Chinese guy, but he studied in America, got his law degree in America. Interesting fellow. So we came to Hefei, and he said just have an open mind, basically. And then we arrived in Hefei at the high-speed rail station. And in China, the railway stations, they have a big open like square in front of almost every railway station where people, the crowds all file into the station, where people sleep, where people sell fruits, and it's just kind of a big plaza type place where people are, because it's a transit hub. Okay, so we get out of the train and we walk out, and okay, well, here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. The road, the pathway outside the plaza was like all tore up like this. Not too bad here, but it was all, all cracked and falling apart. And I had never really seen that in Shanghai or Chengdu or Beijing. Not at like big transit hubs. You see it on the street some places like that, but not at, an international kind of place where a lot of travelers are, and airports, train stations, high-speed rail stations, because those are all brand new. Anyway, it was all destroyed, a lot of it. The other thing I saw was, the very first thing I saw was a guy with no arms and no legs, and it looked like he was all burnt up on like a little cart, a low flat cart, and he was being pulled. He was being pulled by a guy with, you know, developmental disabilities, and they were begging for money. And that's another thing you don't really see in Shanghai. There's not really many beggars around. And the place was just completely crowded. It was so crowded. I don't think I had yet to have been in a place in Shanghai or in China that was that crowded. Oh, look at these beautiful girls. In their qipao. And a clown. Oh. 你好，漂亮. Okay, so it was just freaking crowded. Sorry, I'm rambling. Hope you guys don't mind. It was crowded. The pathway was all messed up. The air was dusty and gray, and I don't know, it was just nasty. And there were beggars everywhere with like deformities and disabilities, I guess is the better word for it. It was just like a totally new place for me. I was like, what the heck? I guess I've never really been to the real China yet, have I? So, anyway, that was part one. We get in the van. The people come and greet us that we're going to go meet. We get in their van. We drive off. We have our meeting. It's some rich investment banker guys, very wealthy men, and everything goes well. We have dinner. We do all that stuff, normal stuff, business stuff. And then, oh, I smell like stinky tofu around here somewhere. Oh, down there. Another clown. Guess Hefei is the town of clowns. Okay, so here we go. Get into the real meat and potatoes of it. After dinner, we go to KTV. And I've never been to KTV in China, like the real kind of KTV, the professional kind of KTV. So I'm not really sure what's happening, but we go in there. And there's just a lineup of women, all in the same uniform, mini skirts, tight blouse fitting. They're all very beautiful. TV crew. Okay, so, you know, they all line up, they bow for you, and we're in KTV, and then my boss, you know, he's like, choose a girl. So I say, okay, this is, you know, I've heard about this, but I've never been to one, so I choose a girl, and she's pretty, and she sits with me. And you also gotta remember, this is like 2012. This is a long time ago, before there was like a big crackdown on vice in China. And now I'm not gonna be, hello. I'm not gonna be admitting to anything because I didn't do anything illegal, but let's just say we all picked out girls. We sang, we danced. They do what they do. If you know about KTV, I'll put a link. I did describe a little bit about KTV in a video I made before, so there's a link on the screen right now. But yeah, so, and at that time, KTV is not like it is now. You can still find stuff like this, but at that time, there was a lot more vice than just women. I'll just say that. That was when Dongguan still existed. That was when everything was just, really was the Wild Wild West. It's changed a lot. Long story short, at the end of the night, the rich investor guy, he told me, he said, you know, I already paid for this girl to go home with you. You know, like he treated me to a woman. And that's just very normal in China in general, and Korea too, and other places around the world, I'm sure. But this very wealthy investor, banker guy treated me to a woman. And my boss told me, he said, you don't have to take her home or to the hotel. You don't have to, you know, do anything that you don't want to do. But you can't tell him no. Like, you can't tell him no thanks. Like, yeah, I mean, you can try to say no thanks, but he'll insist. And then at the end of that, you have to say, okay, thank you so much, I appreciate your kindness in giving me this woman to take home. So that's what I did. And then, so here's how the story goes, okay? So this girl came home with me to the hotel, which was just nearby. And I told her, you can go do your thing, whatever. I wasn't interested in sleeping with a prostitute, a xiaojie, because I had never done that before, and I wasn't, it was like it's a crime, and I'm very like straight-laced by the book guy. I don't do anything bad ever, for the most part. But anyway, at that point in my life, I wasn't at all ready for that, and so this girl came back to my hotel with me, and I told her, you can go. I don't need you to do anything for me. And she told me, oh, I have to stay until 5 a.m. because if I don't stay till 5 a.m., like at least till 5 a.m., that's like when I can go home. Otherwise, I have to go back to the KTV, and the boss paid for the entire night. So just let me stay for a few hours. I think it was 2 a.m. already at this point, 3 a.m. maybe. So she's like, I don't want to go back to the KTV tonight. And so we sat there and talked. But I couldn't speak Chinese at all, and she couldn't speak English at all. So we talked using Google Translate on our phones. And at the end of the night, she added my WeChat, or at some point she added my WeChat, and we stayed in contact. Like, I wasn't like regularly talking to a KTV girl or anything like that. Like, I never saw her again, but she would always ask me like every few months like how I'm doing, and she was really nice. And she told me, she said, I'm the nicest guy that ever took her home from KTV. So I don't know if that's a good thing or what, but she told me usually guys are a lot more demanding and a lot worse. And I can say that during that night at KTV too, before we had all gone home, the rich investor guy that took us out, the boss guy, he was very, 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 I'm not gonna say rapey, but he was very aggressive and very handsy in the KTV, like to the point that it was very ridiculous, like trying to like rip off her blouse and things like that of his girl. So I hope it's okay to tell this story because it's been about 10 years. What are these people doing? They're all taking pictures of this Wang Hong or something? Everybody taking pictures of this woman. They probably are learning how to use their cameras, and so they paid a model to pose for them. 你们都是清塔过来拍照吗？
对，我们学摄影。
Oh, yeah. So they're all studying photography, and so they paid for this model to come. 不错。抬头挺胸。Okay, cool. So yeah, I hope that story is okay to tell. If it's not, I hope nobody comes and gets me. But I didn't do anything personally that I think could come back and get me. And I left out quite a few details, but just because that's the, I don't know, I can't tell everything. I can't kiss and tell or whatever. Not that I kissed. I didn't kiss, but I can't tell. So anyway, that's Hefei. Welcome to Hefei. And actually it looks a lot better than it used to. Driving in here, there's so much new development, so many new residential towers, new office buildings, it's crazy. Last time I came here was probably 2013 maybe. I've been here a few times, but probably 2013 was the last time I came. And let's just say at that time, it really was like not developed well at all. But China moves quickly, and probably developments like the NIO Factory and what other kinds of industries have popped up in that time have helped this place develop. And the government here in China, say what you want to say about the government here, but they really push hard on developing and improving the lives of people, and at least in the very obvious ways, like having better housing to stay in instead of like old crap hovels with no running water. They pretty much tear those all down everywhere across China as fast as they can and build up new apartments for people. And that looks like it's done a lot here, because actually driving around, I was looking for some kind of like old development to go walk through, some of these old rundown places, but I couldn't find any when I was driving around. And so I came here to Xiaoyaojing Gongyuan. It's like a big park here in Hefei. It's just across the street behind these buildings. Because I remember, you know, when I came here last time, probably 2013 again, I went to that park and all around it was like really old, crappy neighborhoods. And I found one, but it was being torn down and I couldn't walk through. So then I just came across to the side of the street, and it's much nicer, lots of restaurants and shopping and people going about having a nice life on a nice weekend. Hello! And it's a nice weekend, Sunday afternoon. And so yeah, that's my story of Hefei. I wish I could tell the whole story. I wish I could tell you everything about that investor man and about my old boss, but what happens in Hefei stays in Hefei. So I'm sorry for that, and I hope you didn't mind a break from NIO for the most part, and learning about a little bit about me and my life in China and all that stuff. So all right, if you like it, make sure you know what to do and leave a comment. And if you want to hear more stories, hopefully more detailed stories that don't involve vice, let me know, and I'll tell some other stories. Some stories that I'm able to tell. Bye-bye. To be honest, Hefei is still kind of like the wild, wild west. Just walking around here. Hefei is the kind of place where you still see not only adults walking around with hickeys, but like 16-year-olds walking around with hickeys on their neck. So that's just how it be.